When someone occupies your thoughts constantly, it's easy to assume it's just your emotions acting on their own. But there is far more happening beneath the surface. Thought is not passive, it is powerful. Thought is not accidental, it is intentional energy moving with direction and purpose. The mind is not simply remembering someone, it is engaging with them. When a man keeps showing up in your mind, when his presence lingers in your imagination, when he appears in your quiet moments, your busy moments, and even in moments when you don't want him there, your thoughts begin to transmit something toward him. They create an energy field that surrounds your emotions, your attention, and your inner focus. Every dominant thought you hold carries a frequency, and that frequency influences awareness, your awareness and his. The human mind is like a transmitter, always sending out signals whether you realize it or not. These signals are created through focus. The more consistently you hold someone in your thoughts, the stronger the energetic message becomes. When you think of him with clarity, with emotion, with curiosity, or with desire, the signal becomes even stronger. This is why he begins to become more aware of you without knowing the reason. You may wonder why he suddenly looks at you more often, why he seems to notice you at unexpected moments, why he remembers little things you said, or why he suddenly reaches out after days of silence. What you are experiencing is not random intuition on his part. It is the quiet influence of mental energy being directed toward him. Your mind creates a space for him, and in ways he cannot explain, he begins to sense that space. When your dominant thoughts revolve around him, your energy shifts and your presence changes, even when you are not physically in front of him. The thought energy you carry creates a subtle pull. This pull is not loud, dramatic, or obvious. It is gentle, subconscious, and gradual, but it is powerful. There are moments when he might be going about his day, and suddenly your name crosses his mind. He may not understand why, but something nudges him to think of you. It might come as a memory, a question, a feeling, or a simple curiosity. He may feel a spark of interest or a wave of awareness that seems to appear out of nowhere. But it didn't appear from nowhere. It appeared from you. Your mind has been sending signals, and his subconscious has been quietly receiving them. People often underestimate how deeply connected minds can become, especially when one person holds another in their thoughts intensely. The energy of consistent thought creates a bridge, and through that bridge, awareness travels. This is why someone can suddenly feel drawn to you, attracted to you, or attentive to your presence without any recent interaction. While he may interpret it as coincidence, instinct, or sudden realization, it is often the result of mental alignment created by your focus. When you constantly think about him, your internal world begins to shape the way he perceives you. He becomes more alert to your energy, more observant of your presence, and more receptive to your influence even before you speak. What's even more interesting is that your thoughts begin to shape your micro behaviors without you noticing. Your eyes soften when you look at him, your tone changes when you speak to him, your body language becomes more open or more cautious, and your responses carry emotional undertones that weren't there before. He picks up on these subtle shifts, even if he doesn't consciously analyze them. This heightened perception makes him feel connected to you in a way he can't fully explain. He might not know why you feel familiar, comforting, intriguing, or magnetic, but it is because your thoughts have already shaped a version of you that he has begun responding to. Dominant thoughts also create emotional resonance that influences how he reacts to you. When your thoughts about him are peaceful, positive, and warm, he senses an inviting energy when he interacts with you. When your thoughts about him are intense, emotional, or longing, he may feel a pull toward you that surprises him. And if your thoughts are anxious, fearful, or conflicted, he may feel uneasy or uncertain around you. Thought is communication, and communication is connection. You don't need to say anything for your inner world to affect his perception. This is why awareness is the first thing that stirs within him when you can't stop thinking about him. He becomes aware of you mentally, emotionally, and energetically. He becomes aware of your presence even before you arrive. He becomes aware of your absence even when you don't speak. He becomes aware of your energy in ways he does not fully understand. You may think you're just thinking of him, but your thoughts are shaping the atmosphere between you. They're shaping the connection. They're shaping the direction of events. They're shaping the invisible thread that begins to pull him into your awareness just as strongly as he has been present in yours. When a man occupies your mind constantly, something deeper than simple thought is taking place. The mind doesn't just think, it feels, and those feelings travel in ways you may not realize. Emotion is one of the strongest forces in human connection, and when you repeatedly think of someone, you begin to wrap those thoughts in emotion, warmth, longing, curiosity, fear, excitement, uncertainty, desire, or even a quiet kind of peace. Those emotional layers don't stay confined to your inner world. They radiate outward, influencing the energy you give off, the tone you speak with, and the atmosphere you bring when you interact with him. You may believe you're hiding your feelings, but emotion rarely stays hidden. It slips into your eyes, your posture, your voice, your silence, and even the way you breathe around him. And whether he consciously understands it or not, he begins to feel something shift. Emotion is contagious, and when you hold someone emotionally in your mind, you create a subtle emotional field around your interactions with them. If your thoughts of him are tender and filled with admiration, he may begin to feel unexpectedly safe or drawn to your presence. He might feel calmer when you walk into a room, more comfortable opening up, or more willing to share pieces of himself he doesn't offer to just anyone. If your thoughts of him carry longing or desire, he may begin to feel a strange pull toward you, a curiosity he cannot easily dismiss. He might replay conversations you've had, or feel a sudden urge to check your social media, respond to your messages more quickly, or remember details he previously overlooked. He won't know why, but there is a quiet emotional impression forming within him. Sometimes the emotional impact is deeper than attraction. A man might feel unusually connected to you without understanding how that connection formed. He may feel your energy before you speak, sense your mood before you explain it, or feel affected by your silence more than your words. Emotion creates resonance, and resonance creates connection. Though he may never articulate it, he feels the echo of what you've been feeling. You may be thinking of him late at night, sorting through your emotions, replaying moments, or questioning your feelings. And in that same moment, he may find himself unsettled, restless, or contemplative without any logical reason. This isn't fantasy. It's the quiet way emotional energy travels between people who occupy each other's inner world. If your thoughts are filled with insecurity, anxiety, or fear of losing him, fear of being misunderstood, fear of wanting too much too soon, these emotions also create impact. He might feel uncertain around you, confused about your intentions, or pulled back even when part of him wants to move closer. Emotion shapes the emotional climate between two people, and the climate determines how freely connection grows. He may sense something is off. Even if you never say a word, he may react by withdrawing slightly, hesitating, or questioning his own feelings because the emotional signal coming from you isn't steady. This is why emotional self-awareness is crucial. Your inner world becomes part of his experience, even if unintentionally. But when your thoughts are grounded, confident, sincere, and emotionally balanced, he feels clarity, he feels ease, he feels alignment, he feels a kind of emotional safety that is rare for most men, and that emotional safety can awaken parts of him he didn't know were dormant. He may feel braver in your presence, more expressive, more willing to initiate, or more open to exploring the connection. Emotion shapes behavior, and your emotional connection formed internally begins guiding how he interacts with you externally. Men often respond to emotional energy long before they respond to logic. He may not analyze feelings in detail, but he instinctively reacts to them. If your thoughts toward him create excitement, warmth, or softness inside you, he may feel a subtle spark every time he thinks of you. If your thoughts carry hope, he may feel possibility. If your thoughts carry clarity, he may feel certainty. If your thoughts carry affection, he may feel a growing desire to be closer. Emotion is a silent language, and you speak it long before you open your mouth. Your emotional state influences his emotional responses. This is why he may suddenly feel more connected to you, more curious about you, or more affected by your presence without any logical explanation. Every emotional wave you create inside yourself becomes a vibration that reaches him through your interactions, your expressions, and your energy. Even in silence, he can feel the emotional quality of your thoughts. And though he may not understand the full story of what's unfolding inside you, something inside him begins to respond, awaken, or shift. The emotional impact of your thoughts becomes a quiet force shaping the connection between you. Attraction is not always something loud, dramatic, or instantly noticeable. Sometimes it begins in the smallest corners of the mind, where thoughts repeat themselves until they begin shaping reality. When a man stays on your mind constantly, your focus becomes a magnet. Attention is a form of energy, and wherever your energy goes, influence follows. The more you think of him, the more you activate an invisible pull that begins to draw him closer, often without either of you realizing what is happening. This pull doesn't begin in words or actions, it begins in the intention behind your attention. Thought is the first spark of attraction, and repetition of thought becomes the flame. Each mental moment you spend on him intensifies a frequency that he unconsciously picks up on. Your focus on him shifts the way you move through your day. It changes your mood, your body language, and your emotional tone. You carry his presence with you in subtle ways. Your smile softens when you imagine him. Your heart beats differently when his name crosses your mind, and your inner world becomes colored by the emotions he evokes within you. These internal shifts become external signals. You may think they're invisible, but the human mind is exceptionally good at picking up energy. He may begin noticing you more, watching you differently, or feeling drawn to you, even if you haven't said much to him recently. That attraction he feels isn't accidental. It's your consistent focus shaping the energetic space between the two of you. When your mind returns to him over and over again, he becomes a highlighted figure in your emotional landscape. You think of moments you shared, words he spoke, how he looked at you, how he made you feel. These thoughts are not silent, they create emotional intensity, and emotional intensity becomes magnetic. The more you replay these moments, the stronger the feeling becomes. And interestingly, those feelings often transmit themselves into your presence. When you're around him, you might not say anything, but the spark in your eyes, the softness in your tone, or the way you hold his gaze a little longer communicates something powerful. Attraction is built in these unspoken signals long before it becomes verbal. He begins responding to this subtle energy. He may find himself looking at you even in a crowded room, noticing your smallest movements, or feeling a curiosity that wasn't as strong before. He might sense a change in your presence, a warmth he didn't recognize earlier, or a vibrancy that draws him in. Men are often more intuitive in attraction than they appear. They may not articulate what they feel, but they react to the internal state of the person in front of them. When you constantly think about him, you create a gravitational pull, and he begins to orbit around that pull without fully understanding why. Your consistent mental attention also shifts the dynamics of your interactions. You become more open, more receptive, and more naturally expressive around him. Your conversations may flow more easily, your laughter may feel more genuine, and your connection may deepen without any forced effort. Attraction grows effortlessly when there is focus behind it. Even small gestures, eye contact, a gentle smile, a curious question gain meaning because they are infused with intention. Your thoughts give these gestures a depth that he feels, even if he cannot name it. Attraction is not always about appearance or words, it's about resonance. When you think about him constantly, you begin tuning yourself to his frequency. He feels that resonance in subtle ways. He feels understood, valued, or noticed. That feeling can awaken his curiosity. He may start wondering why he feels drawn to you, why you stand out in his mind, why he thinks of you at random times. He may not realize that the energy you've been directing toward him is quietly shaping his emotional responses. The more consistent your thoughts are, the easier it becomes for him to feel a pull toward you. And if your thoughts of him are positive, uplifting, and filled with interest, he senses that openness. He feels welcomed into your emotional space. He may become more confident approaching you or more attentive when you interact. Attraction thrives in emotional safety, and your focused attention creates a form of emotional invitation. But if your thoughts are uncertain or filled with doubt, he may feel the hesitation even when your words say something different. Attraction is influenced by inner clarity. The clearer your focus is, the more powerful the pull becomes. Your mental attention also shapes how you show up in his life. You may find yourself remembering details he shared, supporting him in ways others don't, or offering presence during moments he needs it most. These small demonstrations of connection carry weight, and he begins associating you with comfort, inspiration, or emotional grounding. That association deepens his attraction without forcing anything. The more consistently you think of him, the more visible you become in his world. You begin to occupy space in his mind just as he occupies space in yours. What starts as a quiet thought becomes a subtle pull, then a feeling, and eventually a connection that grows stronger with time. Attraction is not always about what is said aloud. Often, it is born in the quiet places of the mind where thoughts take root, emotions gather strength, and the heart begins moving in a direction it cannot ignore. When you think about a man constantly, you're not just engaging the mind, you're engaging the emotional engine that drives the connection between two people. Thoughts alone are powerful, but thoughts wrapped in emotion become even stronger. Every time he enters your mind, he comes with a feeling. Maybe it's excitement, maybe it's uncertainty, maybe it's longing, maybe it's peace, maybe it's curiosity. Whatever the emotion, it travels through your inner world and settles into your energy, and that energy begins shaping how he feels around you. Emotion is not contained, it radiates. It influences the tone of your voice, the pace of your breathing, the way you observe him, the way you respond to his presence, and even the way you anticipate his reactions. You might believe your emotions are guarded, but human connection is incredibly sensitive. People feel what you don't say. When your thoughts of him are filled with warmth, admiration, and sincerity, that emotional energy becomes something he subconsciously gravitates toward. A man may not immediately understand why he feels comfortable around you, why your presence settles him, or why he feels lighter when you speak, but that emotional ease comes from the softness you've been carrying inside. Your thoughts have emotional texture, and he feels that texture through your actions, your expressions, and your presence. He may find himself opening up to you more easily, sharing parts of himself he doesn't reveal to others, or seeking conversations with you because something about you feels emotionally grounding. You didn't have to push anything. You didn't have to force closeness. Your emotional energy made you a safe place without you trying. But emotions also have weight. If your thoughts about him are anxious, uncertain, or fearful, that emotion becomes part of the atmosphere between you. You might speak with hesitation, avoid eye contact, or overthink your responses. You might come across as distant even though you want closeness. You might seem overwhelmed even when you're trying to appear calm. And he feels this. He may interpret it as mixed signals, emotional inconsistency, or confusion. He may not understand what changed, but he senses something in you that makes him question how to approach you. Emotions create an invisible field that shapes how two people interact, and the emotional state you hold internally becomes something he responds to externally. When your thoughts of him come with excitement and joy, he may feel inspired, energized, or uplifted around you. He may notice that he laughs more, smiles more, or feels more alive when he thinks of you. Emotional resonance creates attraction. He begins associating your presence with positive emotional experiences. When thoughts of him bring clarity and confidence within you, he feels that strength. You appear more secure, more present, more intentional, and he responds to that with his own form of emotional openness. Men react to emotional certainty, even when it's subtle. When your emotions are balanced and grounded, he feels steadiness in you that encourages him to step into the connection with more trust. If your thoughts about him are mixed with longing, deep desire, or emotional vulnerability, he might feel an emotional pull toward you that he can't quite identify. He may sense a depth between you that goes beyond ordinary interaction. This emotional depth may awaken his own desire, curiosity, or protectiveness. He might feel more attentive to your reactions or more aware of your presence because your emotional energy has created a subtle bond. It's not a spoken bond, not a defined relationship, but an emotional thread that he begins to feel tugging at him in moments of stillness or reflection. Emotions have a way of shaping perception. If the emotion you associate with him is gentle and genuine, he may start believing that you understand him in a way others don't. If your emotion toward him is passionate and intense, he may feel a spark whenever you're near him. If it's uncertain, he may feel the need to guard himself slightly. If it's hopeful, he may feel possibility growing inside him. The emotional quality you carry becomes the emotional experience he has when dealing with you, and this can profoundly influence the direction the connection takes. Sometimes your emotions toward him reflect not just what you feel for him, but what he awakens inside you. He may stir old wounds, new desires, forgotten dreams, or unexplored fears. Those internal awakenings create emotional responses that he feels whenever he interacts with you. You may feel more alive around him, and he senses that liveliness. You may feel nervous around him, and he senses that vulnerability. You may feel deeply connected to him, and he senses that closeness. Emotions are emotional mirrors. They reflect something about you, and he feels the reflection even when the source is hidden. Every emotion you attach to him becomes part of the emotional environment he experiences with you. And because humans naturally adapt to emotional environments, he begins shifting in response. His tone may soften, his attention may increase, his interest may deepen, or his caution may rise. All because emotion is the first language of connection, and your thoughts of him filled with emotion become the silent messages he receives long before any words are exchanged. When a man occupies your thoughts constantly, it doesn't just stay in your mind, it begins to shape your behavior in ways you don't fully recognize. The mind leads, and the body follows. Whatever dominates your internal world will always express itself through your external actions, even when you try to hide it. Your thoughts about him, whether hopeful, nervous, excited, or uncertain, start influencing the smallest details of how you carry yourself around him, and even when he isn't present. And those subtle signals become the very things he responds to, often without realizing why. Human beings communicate more through energy, expression, and behavior than through words, and when someone is constantly on your mind, it's impossible not to reveal it in tiny, unspoken ways. You may find yourself paying more attention to how you appear around him, not necessarily in a superficial way, but in the sense of wanting to present the best version of yourself. You may adjust your hair, your posture, or your tone without consciously thinking about it. You may speak with a warmth that wasn't there before, or listen with a focus that surprises even you. You may become more careful with your words, more thoughtful with your responses, or more attuned to the details of what he says. These shifts may feel natural, but they are expressions of the attention he holds in your mind, and he notices them. He feels the increased presence, the heightened awareness, the subtle glow you carry. Something about your energy changes when your thoughts are centered on someone, and that change becomes a silent message he receives. Your thoughts may also influence your level of availability. When he's constantly on your mind, you might respond to his messages a little faster, keep track of his patterns more closely, or make room for him in your schedule even without intending to. You may pick up on his moods more quickly or sense when something is off. You might find yourself eager to support him, encourage him, or share in his victories. These behaviors signal interest, and interest is felt long before it is spoken. He begins to interpret your consistency, your responsiveness, and your emotional presence as signs of deeper connection. Even if you don't say what you feel directly, your patterns tell the story for you. When he's constantly in your thoughts, your sensitivity around him heightens. You may notice his voice, his gestures, or the way he looks at you. You may analyze his words more carefully or wonder about his intentions with more intensity. This heightened awareness affects how you react in real time. You may laugh more easily at his jokes, look for deeper meaning in his compliments, or feel more affected by small gestures of kindness. That emotional attentiveness doesn't go unnoticed. He may sense that you understand him more deeply, that you're tuned into him in a way others aren't. This creates a kind of emotional intimacy, even if nothing has been said aloud. At the same time, your subconscious may reveal your feelings in ways you don't expect. You might blush when he compliments you, hesitate when he stands too close, or feel nervous when he asks a personal question. You might avoid eye contact when you're overwhelmed, or hold his gaze longer than usual when you feel connected. These natural reactions can speak louder than words. Men are often more perceptive than they appear. He may not decode everything, but he senses the emotional charge behind your behavior, and that charge affects how he interprets you. Your thoughts also influence your boundaries. Sometimes, when someone is constantly on your mind, you may become more open than usual, sharing more of your inner world, your dreams, or your vulnerabilities. Other times, you may become more guarded, protecting yourself because you fear being too transparent. Either way, he feels the shift. If you're open, he feels welcomed emotionally. If you're cautious, he senses the depth behind your restraint. Your behavior becomes a reflection of what you're thinking and feeling beneath the surface. Even your silence carries meaning. When someone occupies your mind deeply, your quietness around him is not emptiness. It is full of things you want to say, but haven't. He may sense tension, curiosity, or emotional weight behind your pauses. He may feel that something is present even when words are absent. Silence becomes a kind of communication, and he learns to read that communication through your energy. Your thoughts may also create patterns in your behavior that influence the way he sees you. You may begin showing up consistently during moments he needs support, becoming a steady presence in his life. You may remember things he mentioned casually and bring them up later, making him feel seen and valued. You may show kindness in moments he didn't expect, or patience when he's not at his best. These actions paint a picture of someone who cares, someone who feels deeply, someone whose mind and heart are engaged. Men often fall for the way a woman makes them feel, and your thought-driven behaviors shape that feeling long before he consciously understands it. All of these subtle behaviors, your tone, your timing, your presence, your attention, create an impression, and that impression becomes the lens through which he sees you. Your thoughts become your energy becomes your behavior, and your behavior becomes his perception. Every look, every reaction, every moment of connection is touched by the mental space he occupies inside you, and because of that, he begins responding to a version of you shaped by emotion, intention, and the unspoken pull of your thoughts. Here is your asterisk 700-word expansion of key point 6. Asterisk without any heading, no ending sentence, and written in a long, continuous, motivational flowing style. When you finally understand that your thoughts carry power and your inner dialogue becomes the architect of your daily actions, you begin to see why the mind must be disciplined and trained like a muscle, not left idle to wander in fear, doubt, or assumptions that create unnecessary suffering. Because a mind without direction will always drift toward negativity, toward stories that never happen, toward conclusions that are not based on truth but on emotion. And this is where overthinking traps you, making you create problems before they even exist and robbing you of the ability to enjoy the present moment. And when you recognize this pattern within yourself, you start realizing that the real battle is not with people around you, not with circumstances, not with your past, not with your mistakes, but with the inner narrative that keeps looping in your head, replaying scenarios, predicting outcomes, magnifying small issues, and convincing you that danger is near even when you're perfectly safe. And that's why mastering your internal voice becomes the most life-changing decision you can ever make. Because the moment you stop accepting every thought as truth, everything begins to shift. Your emotional patterns shift, your reactions shift, your decision-making shifts. And suddenly you notice that what used to trigger you no longer has the same power. And what used to paralyze you with fear becomes just another thought you can observe and release. And this awareness becomes the key to breaking free from the mental fog that overthinking creates, allowing you to finally step into clarity, confidence, and inner calm. Because when you learn to challenge your thoughts instead of obeying them, when you start questioning whether your mind is giving you facts or just interpretations, you become the one in control rather than the one controlled. And this is where personal power is born, in the ability to separate reality from imagination, truth from assumption, and possibilities from fears. And people who master this inner discipline always seem more peaceful, more stable, more focused. Not because their lives are easier, but because their thoughts no longer drown them, and they have learned the skill of mental filtering, removing the noise, the exaggeration, the illusions created by stress or insecurity, and replacing them with grounded reasoning, presence, and intention. And when you reach that level of mastery, you no longer live in the future or the past. You live in the now, which is the only place where life actually exists, where joy can be felt, where opportunities can be recognized, where relationships can be appreciated, and where growth can truly happen. And the irony is that most of the pain people experience daily does not come from what is happening around them, but from what is happening inside their minds, the made-up stories, the catastrophic predictions, the belief that everything will go wrong, and the fear of things that haven't even occurred. And when you finally understand that these thoughts are not commands but mere possibilities your brain is generating, you begin to reclaim your peace. And this reclamation is not a one-time event, but a continuous practice of redirecting your focus, grounding your emotions, breathing through the anxiety, and reminding yourself that you are not obligated to follow every thought your mind produces, because the mind is a storyteller, and sometimes its stories are helpful, but many times they are simply echoes of old wounds, old fears, old experiences, or situations that shaped your thinking long before you developed the awareness to choose differently. And when you learn to slow down and observe these patterns without judgment, without trying to force them away, you start realizing that you can detach from them, letting them pass like clouds in the sky, no longer gripping them, no longer analyzing them to the point of exhaustion, and instead focusing on what is real, what is happening right now, in this moment. And the more you practice this presence, the more your inner world becomes quieter, calmer, more balanced, and your outer world begins to reflect that inner stillness, turning chaos into clarity, uncertainty into opportunity, and fear into direction. Because once the mind stops running wild, your life finally becomes yours again, and you begin to live instead of merely think about living.